Have you seen these signs at Dollar Tree? These are so neat. These are like the laser cut signs, but the problem is you can't take them apart. Well, I've tried to take them apart and it didn't work very well, but I love the layered designs like this. The only problem is they're very hard to finish and get a really nice look. Now, maybe as Dollar Tree continues to bring us different wood products like this, maybe they'll have kits that aren't put together. But after getting frustrated with the limited selection that Dollar Tree has, I decided to go into a different direction. Because let's face it, it's a lot more fun to be able to pick out the patterns, decide what you're going to craft, and make it your own. And to me, the best part about this is each layer is individual, so I get to spend more time having fun creating instead of getting frustrated with my crafting. And that is what I wanted to show you today. And today's video is sponsored by Creality and the Creality Falcon A1 Pro. They were nice enough to send me a machine so I could try it out for myself and show you how incredible it really is. And I am just like you. I am just someone that loves to craft and create things. And I thought it would be really fun to show you some different projects that you can make if you had a machine like this. And I know you might be thinking that a laser engraver may just be a little bit out of your price range, but with all of the different laser cutters and engravers that are out on the market today, there are some that are better than others, and that is what I wanted to share with you today. So this is the Creality Falcon A1 Pro, and this is an incredible laser cutter and engraver from Creality. This machine is so beginner friendly. I've used other lasers before, and in my opinion, the Creality Falcon A1 Pro has the fastest setup and it's the easiest machine, so you don't have to spend a lot of time learning about it. You can get right to the crafting. This laser is fully enclosed and it's safe. It has a sealed chamber and a safety lock that's enabled, and it's safe to use anywhere. And when you receive the machine, it's fully assembled and it's pre-calibrated. You can literally start your first project in just a few minutes. Some of the features that really stand out to me with this machine has a camera, and it even has an integrated AI vision system and a red dot laser that automatically measures the material height and adjusts the axis in under 3 seconds. It's these extra features that make the Falcon A1 Pro an incredible machine that's budget friendly, and it's great if you're just getting started with laser engravers and cutters. And the Creality Falcon A1 Pro has different lasers, so you can get a 10-watt laser or a 20-watt laser, or they even have a 2-watt infrared module. This makes it possible that you can work with over 350 different materials, from wood to leather to metal, glass, and even plastics. So let me show you Falcon Design Space. Falcon Design Space is very similar to a lot of other laser programs, as well as the Cricut Design Space. And one of the things that I really enjoy using a laser cutter for is creating words. I've had a lot more fun making different signs, basically with just choosing different fonts and cutting out the letters. And the Falcon Design Space software makes it really easy. It uses the fonts that you already have on your system. So if you've gone to places like Creative Fabrica and you've downloaded different fonts, you can use any of those fonts in this program. If you're familiar at all with the Cricut Design Space, this software is very similar to that. You can resize any of the images that you upload. You can group everything together. You can weld everything together, just like you can in Cricut Design Space. Now, I want to put this on a sign in the future. I'm not going to be doing this today, but it says, "Today's forecast, a really lovely day." I saw something very similar to this at Hobby Lobby, but it looked like it was painted onto a sign. I want to use wood cutout letters. So I'm going to save this project for the future, and I can even save this as an SVG file on my own computer, which is incredible. So I'm going to save it to my own computer, but then I'm also going to upload it into the cloud of Falcon Design Space. All I have to do is name the project, and it will save it under My Projects in the software. Now, as an example, these little bunny pictures, I really like these. I bought this design on Etsy. I will leave a link in the description box. I got this from Pickett's, And I really love her design. She has so many different SVGs that can be used on a laser cutter like this. But another thing that I love about this machine is that you can make your own projects and then save them to your own computer as an SVG file in case you wanted to use it on your Cricut machine or a different cutting and engraving machine. So these two little signs are something that I actually created, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to craft these. So I have the frame, and then I have the back portion of my sign along with a carrot. That's one of my signs. And then I have a frame and the backing and a bunny for the other sign. So these are all of the different wood pieces that I cut out with the Creality Falcon A1 Pro. These were so much fun. I had such a good time cutting out all of these wood pieces. But I wanted to show you some real project, not just a test project. I wanted to actually show you the complete process. So I'm going to start with a sign because, again, I love cutting out the letters and I love making signs. So I had some walnut wood, and I believe I got this from Amazon. This is perfect for a laser cutting machine like this one. This wood is 3 millimeters thick, so it's very thin, but all I did was cut out a big rectangle, and now I'm putting some walnut stain on top of the walnut wood just to make it look a little bit darker and a little bit nicer. Now for the frame, I'm just going to paint that with some black acrylic paint. And the wood that I'm using for this frame is 3 millimeter basswood. Again, I got that on Amazon as well. And this is a good example of why I like making my own projects, because it's not pre-glued together. I don't have to worry if the paint runs down on the sides or anything, because it's not going to show up on the backing of my project. Whereas the Dollar Tree signs, you have to be super careful when you're painting. Now, once I was done painting the frame, then I came back with some painter's tape and I put that onto my work surface. I just rolled it so that it was sticky so that it would keep the letters in place. So for this part, I cut out a little pair of scissors and I'm just going to paint them with some silver acrylic paint. Sticking the smaller pieces of wood down to a piece of tape like this makes it a lot easier to not get paint all over everything. And I just waited for that to dry. And now I've got my backer board for my sign. I've got my frame. I've got the scissors and the letters or the words. So I'm going to use a little bit of B7000. You can use E6000 as well. And I'm going to just put a bead of that all the way around the back part of my frame. I find that this type of adhesive works better than hot glue when you're working with laser cutout wood projects. I did use some Dollar Tree clamps to clamp the frame to the backer board. And then I moved the words around to figure out where I wanted them to be on my sign. This is another reason why I really like working with laser cutouts like this, because with vinyl cutouts, you don't have the flexibility. Once you put it in place, that is it. If I'm not happy with how my layout is, I can move it around before I commit to securing it down with the adhesive. Then I just put a little bit more adhesive onto the back of my words and then secured them in place, and also did the same thing with my scissors. I did add a hanger to the back of the sign so I can hang it up, hopefully in my craft room, but this is my sign, and this was really, really easy to make. There was not any skill involved in this, and I have this beautiful sign that I can use in my craft room. Now these bunnies are from a digital SVG file from Pickett's on Etsy. And what I did was I cut out 3 different size bunnies and I did 3 layers of them. So what I'm going to do next is just use some Dollar Tree wood glue, and I'm just going to secure the 3 pieces together with the wood glue. So I have the larger bunny. Now this is the medium-sized bunny that I'm gluing together. And I just stacked the wood up on top of each other. Then I came back and did the same thing with the smallest bunny. And once the glue had dried, I came back with some espresso colored chalk paint, and I used a plastic scraping tool to put just a little bit of the paint on the back of it so I could put it onto each of the bunnies. I want these bunnies to have more of a rustic appearance and not look brand new. So I'm just going to take some of that paint and spread it all over each of those 3 bunnies. Now that's going to be my base layer. And once that dries, then I'll come back with some folk art antique white paint, and I'm going to use a different spackling tool to put that cream colored white over top of each of the bunnies. Next, I came back with a chip brush and I just lightly brushed across each of the bunnies to really make that paint look a little more distressed. Again, this is another reason why I really enjoy using a laser cutting machine, because I get to personalize my projects and I get to do what I want to do, and I don't have to rely on Dollar Tree to have the pieces of wood that I want to make different projects. Now, once the paint had dried on my bunnies, then I had some little wood hearts that I painted pink, and these are going to be the noses for each of the bunnies. Next, I came back with a dot tool and drew eyes on each of them. And once the paint had dried, then I did make some tiny bows out of jute twine that I'm going to put on the 2 smaller bunnies. I used a little bit of hot glue and put 1 bow on the medium-sized bunny. Then I repeated the same step on the smallest one. I did also make a jute bow for the big bunny, but first I'm going to add a little bit of extra stuff to it. So I bundled up some raffia and hot glued that in place. Then I made a bow with some different ribbons that I had, and I hot glued the bow on top of the raffia. I did add in a little bit of extra embellishments, including some buttons and 2 little patches on the largest bunny. And then I did use a tumbling tower block on each of the bunnies on the back so that these can stand up and I can use them in my spring decorating. I think these are adorable. They are so cute and I cannot wait to use these for my decorating this spring. Now again, this is another project that I got the digital file from Pickett's on Etsy, and this is a birdhouse. So it's got 2 sides of the birdhouse, and on the inside of the birdhouse, I'm going to use some burnt umber paint. There's 2 large pieces like this, and the brown is going to be on the inside. Once my paint had dried, I came back with some Mod Podge, and I believe this is glossy Mod Podge, and I did get this from Dollar Tree, and I put a coat of Mod Podge on the side of the bare wood, not the side that I had painted. Now while that was drying, I came back and painted the smaller pieces for this project. So it has a fence that's going to sit in front of the birdhouse. There was also some trim pieces to go around the window as well as the opening for the birds. And then I had the birds themselves. So I went ahead and painted each of the individual pieces. You can find all kinds of different patterns like this, and the Creality Falcon A1 Pro is an incredible machine that allows you to cut out really small pieces that you can stack up on top of each other, so your projects will definitely have a 3D appearance. And you can paint the birds, the fence, the frames for the windows. You can paint them any color you want them to be. So you have all of the creative freedom that you could want in creating any project that you want. You can keep things simple, or you can get very detailed on each individual piece that you're going to be using for your project. After all, that's what makes crafting fun, don't you think? You get to decide what you want your project to look like. And you may not do your project like anybody else, but that's okay, because this is your creative time and you get to make what you want. I did also have a pattern for some leaves from another project, so I used the laser cutter to cut out individual little leaves that I can add some extra embellishments to my birdhouse. I also found a really pretty nutmeg wax that I painted the roof line of the birdhouse with that. And once it was painted, I just took a cloth and removed the excess wax from the wood. Now remember when I put the Mod Podge on and let it dry? Well, now I'm going to take some scrapbook paper and I'm going to secure that to the front and the back of the birdhouse. So I put the scrapbook paper on top of the wood, and then I covered it with a Teflon sheet, and then I used my mini heat press to reactivate the Mod Podge so the scrapbooking paper will adhere to the wood and there will be no wrinkles. This is my favorite way to decoupage. And once it had cooled down, then I just cut away the excess scrapbooking paper around the edges of the birdhouse. And then I used an X-Acto knife to trim away the paper from the open areas. Next, I came back with my mini hand sander and I sanded away all of the excess paper around the edges of the wood. Once I had both pieces of wood covered with the scrapbooking paper. Then I came back with some B7000 adhesive and I started adding the embellishment pieces to my project. There's even some smaller pieces in this pattern that you can use to separate the back from the front of the birdhouse. Then I put a little bit of B7000 on top of those plain wood pieces. I lined up the front and the back of the birdhouse, and that's pretty much it. Now all I have to do is add the finishing touches, which is the fence and the birds. So I used a smaller piece of wood and secured that to the back of the fence, so that will raise it away from the birdhouse. And then I glued the birds in place. Now the bird's wings were cut out, so again I used little tiny pieces of wood, and then the raised portion of the wing, I could just put it right on top, so it definitely has a 3D appearance. Next I took those extra little leaves and I just randomly glued them onto the top of the birdhouse. I thought the second bird would look pretty sitting on the fence, so I glued that down with the B7000 and again used that smaller wood piece to be able to raise the wing. And I had one extra leaf bundle, so I glued that on the opposite side of where the bird is on the other end of the fence. I did come back and add a bottom, and then I just used some Spanish moss and some silk flowers that I already had, and this adorable birdhouse is ready to be used for my spring decorating. Now, I told you in the beginning that I really love making signs, so I'm not going to walk through all of the steps to show you these signs. You saw me actually cutting these out. So I've already stained the frame and I've already got some scrapbooking paper on the backing. So I'm just putting the frames in place. So I have the one sign done. Now I'm working on the second sign. And the scrapbooking paper that I used, I just found it at Hobby Lobby in one of the book bundles of scrapbooking paper. I did paint my carrot and my bunny and then used a little bit of B7000 to secure each of them to the signs. I thought it would look nice if each of these had a bow, so I made little shoestring bows out of jute twine and secured them, one to the carrot and one to the bunny. The bunny, since it's a little bit smaller, I just untwisted the jute twine to make a really thin bow. And I just used a dot of hot glue and a silicone stick to stick the bow down onto the bunny. And these are my signs all finished. Again, these were super easy to make, but I love how they turned out, and these will make great accents on my wall this spring. Now I had to show you these bunnies too. These are so cute. You've seen me paint so many things. I didn't think you'd want to see me painting the bunnies again. So this is the finished project. Again, I use the Creality Falcon A1 Pro for all of these projects. And I know you might be thinking that a laser cutter and an engraver might be too expensive for you. But if you are looking for a quality, beginner-friendly laser that you can get started with right away, I would really, really encourage you to check out the Creality Falcon A1 Pro. Whether it's the 10-watt laser or the 20-watt laser, there are so many options and there's so much that you can do with this machine. Don't just take my word for it. Go check out Creality and check out all of the different lasers that they have, along with the hundreds of videos from other creators like me that have fallen in love with this machine. I want to give a big shout out to Creality and say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to review this machine. This is an incredible machine I think every crafter should consider having in their craft room.